Lesson 1, Part 2. Why is autism a spectrum disorder? Because of the significantly different ways symptoms can manifest themselves across children with autism, autism is considered to be a spectrum disorder. Symptoms can range in severity from mild to severe, and the level of support that an individual requires might be different depending on the severity of their symptoms. Students with autism spectrum disorder demonstrate a wide range of skills and behavior across multiple areas of development. These include cognitive skills, social interaction, communication and language skills, behavior, sensory differences, and motor skills. In the new Diagnostic and Statistical Manual 5th edition, or DSM-5, autism is now described by the levels of support an individual requires. As part of the diagnosis, an individual receives one of 3 different levels. And as the level number increases, so does the necessary level of support. Let's look at the 3 levels and what they mean. Level 1 is the mildest form of autism, but these individuals still require support. They may be higher functioning than some of the other levels and might be verbal and use verbal language consistently, but still have a difficult time initiating social interactions or participating in a back and forth conversation with their peers. They have difficulty with organization and planning that makes it difficult for them to become more independent. They demonstrate a decreased interest in interacting with others, and they also exhibit restrictive, repetitive behaviors that interfere with their everyday functioning. Individuals with level 2 ASD require substantial support and will have more obvious problems with verbal and social communication than those diagnosed with level 1. They find it harder to change focus and might get upset if they have to move from one activity to the next or to leave school at the end of the day. Children with level 2 tend to have very narrow interests and engage in repetitive behaviors that make it difficult for them to function in certain situations. An individual diagnosed with level 2 tends to speak in simple sentences and also struggles with nonverbal forms of communication. They demonstrate marked deficits in their social interactions, even when provided with support. Individuals diagnosed with level 3 of an autism spectrum disorder require very substantial support, as this is the most severe form of autism. Children in this category will manifest many of the same behaviors as those with level 1 or 2, but to a more extreme degree. Problems expressing themselves verbally and non-verbally can make it very hard to function, interact socially, and deal with a change in focus or location. Engaging in repetitive behaviors is also a symptom of level 3 autism. How are autism spectrum disorders diagnosed? Diagnosis is generally made by a trained, licensed medical or trained mental health professional using the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, or DSM-5. A comprehensive diagnostic evaluation should include behavioral observations, interviews with caregivers and providers, a medical and behavioral history, and the use of other tests to rule out certain conditions such as genetic conditions, hearing loss, or other illnesses and conditions that might cause similar behavior characteristics. Why is it important to get a medical diagnosis of autism? Having a medical diagnosis may help determine the medical treatment or give an individual access to services. For example, in the state of California, a medical diagnosis of autism is required for students or individuals to be eligible for regional center services. In addition, private healthcare providers, insurance, and Medicaid can also provide and pay for treatments such as ABA therapy or behavioral therapy if a formal diagnosis of autism is received. What is it like to hear that your child has autism? As a special education teacher, you will develop close relationships with your students and families. Accepting the diagnosis of an autism spectrum disorder is a process and will look different for all parents. Click on each link below to hear what it is like from a parent's perspective to hear that your child has autism.